This question is to, my name is John Myridge and I'm from Hinton here, and this question is to all the parties, or the party representatives here, and it's about minority governments. And I'm wondering, are they such a bad thing? We've got a country of over 30 million people that stretches from coast to coast to coast. And is it realistic to feel that one of your respective parties represents the views of the majority of Canadians? And if not, are you willing, or are your parties willing to work together, put aside your differences and partisan politics, and accomplish something over the next few years?
Thank you so much for that question, because right now that word is being tossed around like it's some evil thing. First of all, let me tell you that in a lot of countries around this world, there are perfectly good functioning coalition governments, and they work with each other, they find common ground, and they come up with solutions. I also want to point out that between 1957 and 68 here in Canada, we had minority governments, and guess what? During that time, we got Medicare, we got the Canada Pension Plan, and there's a few other good things that happened at that time, which I can't recall at this moment, but that is actually when good things can happen in Parliament, because the parties do work with each other and do come forward with solutions, and normally that is what happens. But unfortunately, in the last 5 years, under the Stephen Harper government, he is actually telling Canadians that that's not how it works. No, the party that gets the most seats, or more than any other party, they're the ones that call the shots, and none of the other parliamentarians have anything to say there. In fact, that is why this government fell. They were in contempt of Parliament. They were not sharing vital information with the other elected representatives who were there, elected by people of Canada. And it's as if to say to all those people who voted for those other parliamentarians that you don't count. Your voice does not count. They are actually not telling us the truth. The Stephen Harper government is not telling you the truth about how a parliamentary democracy works. And this is such an important question. And I want to just finish these comments with that the Green Party will work with any and all other parties, issue by issue, and come up with positive solutions to the problems that we face. We have to do that. That is how we are going to move forward. Thank you so much.
Well, sure, absolutely. Minority governments have been working. We've had 3 in a row. And we have had the longest serving minority government in the history of Canada in this last one. You only do that through working with those people who are elected to the House of Commons. But you cannot continue to do that. That is not in the best interest of Canada in this time, because of what would happen if we don't form a majority government. The options will be easy. We will bring in our budget, which we said we would, which Canadians helped us design and develop. The opposition have already said that they will vote it down. In fact, they said that last time. We didn't even get it announced in the House of Commons, and both opposition parties were out, actually all 3 of them were out, saying that they were going to vote it down. So if they vote it down, what happens? One of 2 things. We go to another election, $300 million, or we're controlled by Quebec separatists who have nothing but the demise of this country as an agenda. That is what will happen. That is why it's so critical that we have a majority government right now. Can minorities work? We prove they have. It is not in Canada's best interest to have a majority government after Monday.
Well, I'd say that everybody should be darn fearful if you hand Stephen Harper a majority government, considering what's being going on behind closed doors. Even while this election campaign was going on, well, on the 11th, he was behind closed doors with European leaders, with the CETA agreement, trying to get this agreement signed behind closed doors through an election campaign. He's not our Prime Minister right now. He doesn't have the right to do that, let alone without parliamentary procedure, parliamentary debate, and the feedback of all the other elected representatives. And that's why we have such a dysfunctional system right now. The Harper government does not want to work with the other parties. They're taking a dictatorial attitude towards this, like if they get this, that they're the leaders, that no one else's opinions matter. And that's why we're seeing such low voter turnout. Go and talk to people who aren't voting, and they say it's an absolute waste of my time. Stephen Harper does not represent me, and the small parties that I'd like to put my voice behind, the people that would really like to represent me and do good things for me, don't have a chance of being heard under this kind of totalitarian dictatorship. So I urge you, look into these free trade agreements, look into CETA, look into NAFTA, look into the Council on Foreign Relations and the Bilderberg Group, because these are the people that the Harper government answers to. Not you, not me. I'm mad, and I want people to know this. I want people to do their due diligence, do some research, and decide who you're voting for. Because if you vote in Stephen Harper as a majority government, you can kiss this nation goodbye and say hello to the North American Union under a total corporate fascist dictatorship.
Well, can a minority government work? I believe certainly it can work and it should work. I think our MPs, they have to learn to work together, whether they're part of the party in power or the opposition. I think they must take a cooperative approach to government rather than adversarial. And I think we see too much of that adversarial approach, and we've got to defeat this thing just because the other party has proposed it. And I think we have to learn not to do that. The fact that we're having an election right now, we hear over and over again that it was because the Conservatives showed contempt of Parliament. I'm not going to answer that whether they did or not, but I think the fact that we're having an election now and that it was forced upon us by some of the MPs, that wasn't contempt of Parliament, that was contempt for all the people of Canada that would drag us into another election. Thank you.